Good morning, good afternoon. Again, my name is Goran Đurđević. I'm one of the co-author of this presentation with Professor Emiliano Gallaga from Mexico. Our topic is excavation online, social networks and archaeology in the post-corona time. So the first of all, we deal with the archaeology in the post-COVID time and during the COVID, because as we all of us know that during the COVID, we have limitations of traveling, visiting to the sites and dealing with the museums or archaeological materials in some private collections. So it makes for us archaeologists more challenging to work. And we try to emphasize the issue of the social networks in this period as a potential for developing networking, communication, and promoting of the archaeological ideas and thoughts and the cultural heritage. And for this purpose, we established a project called TTT. The project started as Thursday Twitter Thoughts, later changed it into Thursday Thinks and Thoughts. The main reason for changing is because we actually grow from Twitter to other social networks, including LinkedIn, Facebook, which are more related to the Western communities, Weibo and WeChat, which are more related to the East Asia, and VK, which is a Russian social network. And this is a project which is still going on, and it is almost more than 1 year. The project is pretty simple, and it includes just one tweet per week. For example, we have this tweet number 7 from October, and the tweet says, "I'm thinking about contemporary archaeology and what should be aims of the archaeologist of future. Maybe they will analyze CDs, sticker albums, Coca-Cola bottles, remains of the robot and space rockets, football jerseys, modern squares, highways, BLM notices, Me Too posters, boats with refugees, air pollution, bones of humans who died from COVID, or etc." So this is example just of one tweet how we prepared and publish on the social networks. Of course, as you will see in the following parts, the Twitter started from the August 2022, which is, we can say, the peak of the pandemics in the various parts of the world. And on the Twitter, it finished in the August 19, 2021, which means almost 1 year, which has 53 tweets, one per week, and every tweet started with "I'm thinking about," and they have a limited number of characters as the Twitter usually have, so we need to squeeze and put the major things. The major idea actually was promotion of archaeology, and we didn't plan to make it so longer, and we didn't plan in advance. So it was some kind of archaeological diary in some way, which what are we thinking at a certain moment and how we promote it on the social networks. Sometimes it was correlation with certain ideas in the society problems, sometimes just thoughts about the future of our field. So if we put about the engagement and impressions, it's very important to know that it is published on the private profile with my name. And this private profile has a limited number of followers, which is around 130, because we did not use any kind of boosts or including paid commercials or something else to do it. And if we put this engagement and impression, we can see that majority of impressions are around 200 and 300, while engagements are pretty lower. It is around 10 or even lower than 10. Impressions by Twitter analytics mean how many people actually saw the tweet, but engagement means how many people share, discuss, retweet, comment, or even like or dislike certain tweet. There are some anomalies in these tweets we will be explained later. The reasons for this variety could be various, which could be also explained a little bit later. So if we consider top and the bottom tweets, we can see that the most impressions has the tweet number 6, which is related to Roman Empire and issue of climate change at the end of the Roman Empire, with 951 impression. Then very important and interesting tweet about ghosts in the archaeology, how we deal with the ghosts. Then it is one tweet about the shopping, leisure and free time. and then about aging, and about the music and soundscape, because sometimes it was challenging idea of silence in the past. The tweets with the lower number of impressions and engagement are the last tweet, about the hope and cooperation, with just 66 impressions and 0 engagement. Then about those first tweets, which are related to various aspects, including indigenous communities and settlements, race, visual art in the Roman Empire, with case study of the Emperor Septimius Severus, then colors and coloring of the sculptures in the Roman Empire, and then invention of the fire, which will challenge the gender issues, who actually invented fire, male, female, child, or a group of people. If you go to word cloud, the most common words, it's pretty obvious that TTT, which is acronym of the project, then archaeology, and then thinking are the most common. And then we have various aspects related to the archaeology, including archaeologist, archaeological, or some other parts, some terms and phrases, which are parts of archaeology. For example, it could be like ancient object, remains, road, etc., etc. So these things are also important. Then we have parts like society, gender, culture, people, which are pretty often put it in the tweets. Of course, the dates and the months are also part of the tweets. So if we put by the frequency, thinking is in all 53 tweets, then archaeology in 35. Then we have, as I mentioned, these kind of terms related to archaeology, past artifacts, archaeologists, or related to the scholarship, like social research, political, and people, that are in the certain number of tweets. Then if we put tweets per area, we can see that there are 38 tweets dealing with the general area. General means that the area is not so specific, and it could be various across the time and across the regions. Then we have a global, which means that it was pretty emphasized that some or several areas have been put, and the certain continents, such as Africa, Asia, Antarctica, or Europe, have been mentioned just a few times in the tweets. Then if we put by time framework, we also see the general time framework is the most common, which means that the tweet, like what I mentioned, example, or some others, have been actually through the whole time. It is not specific the time. Then they have multiple times. For example, in some tweets it's mentioned ancient and early modern, or medieval and early modern. Or then we have through the traditional changes on the time framework, like ancient, medieval, prehistory, modern. We see that prehistory is slightly larger than others, which is pretty common, because some topics are related through prehistory, such as fire, Neanderthals, invention of letters or stone tools, etc. Then we have through the political entity, as we see here, also is a similar situation, the general political entity, which means that tweets are not related to certain political entity. Majority of the tweets, some are, like to Mongolian Empire, to the Rome, to the Greece, or some other regional political entities, because the issues of, as we mentioned in the tweet number 7, could be applied to the various communities and various political entities. Then when we put it in subdisciplines, we can say that most of the subdisciplines have been dealing with postmodern archaeology, including post-colonial studies, gender and environmental issues, and some of them are dealing with some others theories or subdisciplines, such as disability studies, digital studies, theory of affects, etc. So we can see that most of the topics have been related to those new ideas that challenging anthropology and archaeology. So what we see from this short one year part, because we are of course following on the other social networks and probably will have different reactions, we see this kind of inconsistency in the impressions and reactions. We didn't find the actually solution why this. It could be related as an issue of topics. So maybe some topics are controversial, attractive or non-attractive to various audiences. Also, it could be issue of language, because all the tweets are in English language. Maybe some kind of community or followers are not so familiar with the English language, or they have actually additional things. Also, it could be issue how many people are using Twitter per week or per time, because the tweet is just once per week on Thursday. So it's potential that some people actually cannot see it or not react it. And also it could be an issue of dates, because some tweets have been published even during the summer or winter holidays. So it is probability that some people are not using or not thinking about these topics. Also, we open an issue of the presentism, because some tweets are really provocative, and we do it per reason, provocative, to see how the people will react and share. And the good example are those tweets related to the climate changes, which actually has pretty good impacts, but also opening the new topics like tweets about ghosts. We try to find comparative projects, and there are certain of them, but not similar to our project. Of course, there are some Twitter conferences like Icon Archaeology Twitter Conference or Public Archaeology Twitter Conference or Florida Public Archaeology Network that put a lot of the tweets and Twitter ideas. But the key issue is that we didn't realize that someone has this kind of project of publication, some kind of archaeological thoughts, diaries, and archaeological theory, our anthropological views and perceptions of the past continuously on the Twitter. Usually Twitter have been used to promote the certain archaeological findings or the certain events. For example, they just promote some conferences or roundtables. So it is comparable to see how it will be in the other social networks, because the Twitter has its own limitations by the characters and as a social network as well. What we will do as a follow-up part, we will actually prepare a book. Book will consist of theoretical and analytical part we present here and also compared to other social networks, and actually tweets in the various languages. We are translating them in the various languages for possibility to be achieved for the various audiences in the world. And also we are trying to prepare an exhibition that will be a combination of the digital archaeology, which means tweets presented by projectors or by robotics or holograms, and the real archaeological exhibitions related to the tweets. And as I mentioned before, we are continuing on the other social networks this kind of project. So for conclusion, we just want to emphasize that the social networks in archaeology could be a secret friends, not just for promotion of archaeology as promotion of the certain findings or events, but also as promotion of the archaeological theory and promotion of the archaeological thoughts and building networking, both in the protection of certain interesting heritage and promotion of the new theoretical frameworks or just some new thoughts as we did it. We hope in the future that the social networks could have the major role, including for publishing and republishing and for bibliographies. And this, our project could be step in this way too. Thank you for your attention. Please contact us on our emails or visit some of our profiles, and hope to stay in touch. Thank you for this opportunity.